This just in, Donald Trump supporters are planning to carry out terrorist attacks on the West. I'm sorry, did I say Trump supporters? I meant ISIS. Forgive my confusion, I was just watching CNN, where Fareed Zakaria actually compares Donald fans to radical Islamists. What a tool.
A main cause of the rise of extremism in the world of Islam has been the cowardice of Muslim moderates who for decades chose not to condemn bad ideas and ugly rhetoric, avoided confronting the cancer in plain sight. It is now clear that a similar dynamic has been at play in the world of conservatism. What is different about the conservative movement is that since the 1990s, some of its most distinguished mainstream members have embraced the rhetoric and tactics of the extremes. The problem is not that Republican leaders should have begun to condemn Trump last year. It is that they should have condemned the ideas and tactics that led to his rise when they began to flourish in the last century.
I wonder what book he lifted that from. Now, comparing American voters peacefully participating in democracy to beheaders sucks. But maybe in Fareed's head, he meant the comparison as a criticism of ISIS. But blaming conservatism for Trump also makes no sense because Trump isn't an ideological conservative. If anything, his past beliefs are closer to Fareed's. Trump succeeds by cross-dressing across beliefs. I also don't recall Fareed worrying about strident movements born from the left, like Occupy Wall Street, the new Black Panthers, the intolerance mob currently on campus shutting down free speech. Would he ever say the same thing about Sanders groupies who drool over a socialist? Fareed ignores harmful beliefs, instead to bash scary words. And one could call Fareed's rhetoric scarier. Comparing American voters to Islamists? Shut up. I have my criticisms of Trump. Criticism is my thing. The right who now embraces centrist Trump seek a safe space from assessment. That bugs me, but that's not Islamic extremism. It's a mirror of the intolerance movement of the modern left. It's a mirror that Fareed refuses to look at. Look, you know the thing is, Dana, it's a reflex in all of us to compare something we don't like to something worse. It's like so we kind of all do that. But then we think twice and we go, that's not fair. Correct?
Well, ISIS is the new Nazi.
Yes.
Okay? And what he's doing there is watering down the argument about good versus evil. If you cannot see the difference, now you might not like Republican politics or conservative politics or whatever it is now that we are apparently headed towards. But believe me, what he just said is definitely going around the cocktail circuit. This is what is being repeated in campuses all across the country. This is what what you can say in polite company at dinner tables whispered about those evil Republicans, that they're just like ISIS. It's absurd, and it doesn't help anybody, especially I really don't think it helps President Obama. Or Hillary Clinton, actually, which is presumably who he would want to support.
Maybe the reason why he said it is because he's scared.
Well, I think that's exactly. He won't blame Donald Trump for Donald Trump. He wants to blame what he calls conservative leaders for the rise of Donald Trump and the rhetoric. Blame Trump if you don't have a problem with Trump, right? I mean, or what is he afraid he's going to call you out or do what you did to him? I'm not really sure what the point was there. And let me see if I make this leap. So he's blaming conservative leaders, therefore blaming conservatives for the rise of Donald Trump and it's stepping up of rhetoric, which is going to lead to Islamic extremism. Haven't we heard this before from the left? Haven't we heard this time and time again that the right causes Islam? Didn't Obama say that some far-right groups are the reason for the rise in Islamic extremism?
The rise of it is because they're not doing enough to stop it. So, of course, it's growing exponentially because we're in stand-down mode. So there you go. So put someone else in the White House, and we'll wrap this up.
Juan, you have a look of perplexing confusion.
Well, I'm listening very carefully, but I've heard this argument from people, Louis C.K., the comedian, has come out and said things, about Trump being extreme. And
that's where I get my political...
well, no, I'm just saying, Dana said it's polite, it's conversation in polite leftist parlors. I think it goes way beyond that. I think people think that when you don't say something about the birther argument, which came from Trump, when you don't say something about condemning the man as, in very negative tones as a Muslim, he's lying to us, he's not a Christian, and then you say, well, you know what, in the talk radio world, we'll just say this because it's just Obama, we'll demonize him. That then when Trump springs up and becomes your leading Republican candidate, I think other Republicans do have some responsibility.
Okay, but see, your point that you're making, you didn't have to use the metaphor of radical Islam. Your point is actually, yeah, you could say that the rhetoric from cable news and from the rhetoric from talk radio could have contributed to the creation of Trump.
Yes.
Makes sense, maybe. But comparing it to radical Islam, the rise of Islam, that's where you lose me.
Well, and this is where you lose people on the Hitler analogy, right?
Yes.
That Hitler killed thousands of people, and the Islamists are killing thousands of people. I don't see Donald Trump doing that. Now, we have an immediate controversy.
Whoa, thank God. A moment of reason and sanity. Thank
but
God.
we have
I'm
a controversy on the table right now. I think there are lots in the Jewish community who did not like Trump raising his hand and having everybody else in the audience raise their hand. And I'm just saying, I read this in the Forward and elsewhere, they compare it to a kind of Hitler salute.
All right.
You know, by the way, Erin Andrews is therefore also a Nazi because she had to raise her right hand when she swore into her big lawsuit. Remember when she testified?
I'll laugh with you,
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth.
Here, Eric.
Is she a Nazi for doing that?
Eric, I'm laughing, but there's a serious conversation.
I know, but really, like, what are you saying? That Trump's like Hitler and doing Nazi
We have to move on. We have fast as 7,
so
which means we need 7 minutes.
This is like so stupid.
All right.